just centering myself, and to stay centered. That's really what we need to do. And my topic is be strong in yourself. Be strong in yourself. And strength does not mean force. And sometimes people misunderstand kindness for weakness, because it's like, well, to be strong, you can't be kind, and you've got to be harsh, and you've got to be mean, and you've got to make things happen. You've got to, no. That's the hypnotic trance that humanity has been under, and for so many continuing, and then so many are realizing and knowing who they really are and in being. And when we are strong in ourselves, we don't have fear and we don't worry, because we are so connected with really who we are. And the stronger we are in our relationship with the divine, I call God within, Mother, Father, God, my divine partners that I am part of. It's not that they're part of me. No, I'm part of. Just like you and I are already unified. That's who we are. You're not going to unify. We are already unified. And I don't like the word one, because that's also a number one, and it's a W-O-N one, and it's an O-N-E one. And it has so many, it's not like we're all part of mashed potatoes, or we're just all part of the blob, the board, no. That's a closed reality. And with so much, when words, what we say, have changed, because the people make the meanings for the words, the definitions, and the Funk and Wagner, or whoever these people are. But you get back with Daniel Webster, and then somebody else before that, and you get also Francis Bacon and John Dees, who are working for Queen Elizabeth I, in also doing magic or contacting or creating mental demons of some kind that could then give people power and control over other people. And the only way, really, the real control over other people is fear and guilt. And how many parents use guilt on their children? How many children are using guilt on their parents? Really? I was with some people the other day, and I was saying thinking what a cute little girl this other little girl is, and this other little person was standing there, and they stood up indignant, well, what about me? And I said, well, handle it. What is that? See, this need to have constant attention. And it's that sense, well, we have to keep buying them gifts, or we have to give them some more, and if we don't, they're going to scream at me, they're going to yell at me, they're going to hate me. Really? How did that get going like that? And when we really realize the greatness of motherhood and fatherhood, and the opportunity to really notice and observe and witness another divine being, and to help that being develop their fullness of who they are. When I used to do ceremonies, christenings, and we talked about it was really to acknowledge the divinity of that child, that person. And the greatest gift we can give another, in a sense, is to acknowledge their beingness, that there's a being there. There's a person there. Yes. And that person, and at the same time, that person also, in their consciousness, has a belief system, a role they're playing, a character, what they think is they're fighting. And this whole fighting mentality came from the hunters, not the gatherers. And the hunters and gatherers, they didn't go together. That's another lie. Another lie is that you have an animal body. You do not. You have a human body, and an animal has an animal body. And yet, we come from the same fabrics as spirit souls. And that we get what we, in a sense, desire. And more than that, what we're doing. because we're building that consciousness. And when you're powerful in yourself and you trust yourself, how to do that is you start trusting yourself, your own knowing. And then people say, well, what do I know? Well, hey, there's a lot to know information-wise about this world, but it's still just describing the hologram, the simulation, the virtual reality, but you want what's real. And the real is the spiritual realm that is the prototype, the source of any reality, because there is the absolute. And people say, well, there is no absolute. Well, what people are doing is making the fake absolute. They're making what they're told absolute. They're making what they learn in school absolute. What science says absolute. What medicine says absolute. What government says is absolute. What the neighbor says. What the husband. What the wife. What the mother. The father. Goes on. What they're all telling me. Bam, 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 bam. And so then the mind is just, I got to get going, and I got to be there, and I got to make it happen, and if I don't, I got to be okay, I got to look good, I got to have, and just constant out here playing with the trance. And you are the trancer, the transcend dance. That's what you want to do. So the stronger you become in yourself, how do you do it? Start trusting yourself. Notice what's true for you, not mine. And notice the distinction, big, between your mind and you. Your own knowing and what the mind is telling you. It almost comes down, if the mind tells you to do it, don't do it. But then the mind will get tricky. Because if you're doing that, it'll tell you what to do, and then you won't believe it, and then you'll do it because the mind said it. Say, you have to become strong in yourself. You are the investment. It's like, I probably invested hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in the world in my consciousness. Whatever courses I've taken, counseling I've had, mentoring, studying, all the processes, seminar, all of that, everything, and when you really get strong in yourself, it's strong in who you are naturally. Not as a limited person who goes through birth and death. No. Without all these layers of ignorance, you can't do this, all of this that we're giving our energy to and making, or it's like you vote with your dollars. I started that years ago and made a bumper sticker out of it. Because you're focused, not just dollars, think about your attention. What you talk about, what you're looking at, what you're imagining, what you're feeling, what you're doing. You are a very complicated, but not really, and also simple being. To know how to operate yourself and your connection, because what could you count on under any and all circumstances? See, it's not about your survival here. Purpose of life is not survival, because life is life. Why would it be afraid? Why would it want to survive? It already is eternal. So that is part of the overlay, the big overlay of information to get you to be informed so that you can form a line, so you can be information altogether, you see. And we call that oneness. So it isn't the oneness, it's my beingness and your beingness and the power. So you need to do it now. And it isn't something you think, well, when I leave my body, it's going to be fine. You cannot die. And when you realize that, and how much energy, when you look at what is central intelligence, what does that mean? Central, there's a point of where we'll dictate intelligence, information. It might be, you've got a parent who's like nutcase. And all of the stuff they fed you and everything, well, don't worry, don't bother with that stuff and your attachment and then your story and your struggle and your this and your that. This is taking you from you. And it doesn't matter. All that's it's just in your mind now. And that is just, and the person's identity is so close to that, and they think that's who they are. It isn't who you are at all. And it's like, wow. This moment, this now, right now. And you can focus your attention on anything or anywhere. You're a manifester, you're a creator. I have to tell you what happened yesterday. I was talking to one of my students who is a chiropractor in Israel. Beautiful, beautiful soul, and the beautiful philosophy of chiropractic. I believe Parker, Dr. Parker, I think that was his name. Anyway, so he was telling me, he said, do you remember Joel Goldsmith? Of course, I love Joel Goldsmith's writing. Just really good on just the consciousness, powerful. So anyway, that was years ago, and then I picked up a couple books because I've read through libraries and given them away, and then always there's new knowledge that has come, you know? So it's really reinforcing the basic always in that sense, but we have to overcome doubt. So when you're strong in yourself, you have to overcome doubt. So you use the knowledge, the teachers, the books you've read, whatever that, to your own being self-educated. See, and then after a while, there's not a lot to remember because when you know it, you no longer need that step anymore, and so you already have that consciousness. It's who you are. So anyway, I was talking to him on the phone, and then he said about Joel Goldsmith. He said, "Well, this book, something of mysticism, knowledge of mysticism, or whatever. It was an exact title." And he said, "But it's really hard to get." And he was given to him by someone a few years ago, and he said it's out of print and you can't find it and all that. I said, "Oh, really? Okay." But I thought inside, you know, I want that. I am telling you, in a moment, it's in my hands, and I'm still talking to my student on the phone. And then Michael, the director, he had the book. He just brought it while I'm on the phone, and he put it in my hands. He went, found it and everything. And I went, oh, what? I said, I am an instant manifester, the God within divine presence. Because when you're in harmony with yourself and who you are, we're in harmony with everyone. And then what happens? We get to witness and be part, not of the magic that's riding on broomsticks and stupid things like that. That's just diversion. You have divine magic. And more than that, it's just miraculous and supernatural. Be strong in yourself. Invest in yourself. It's not the other stuff that you're going to lose. It's you. This is most important.